Thank you very much, Dave. Welcome to Calgary. TSN, the exclusive broadcaster of the CFL, proud home. McMahon Stadium, late arriving crowd today, expecting a big crowd, and it is a spectacular September day. Cloudless sky, perfect temperature, and the wind coming from the southeast. And the big story today, Cowboy Cody comes to the Stampede City.
Well, you heard Matt Dunnigan say it. Cody Pickett has been ordained as the Argonauts' new starter. Let's see if he's worthy of the throne against the Stampeder defense that'll be coming after him. That Argonauts gave up a lot last week, and you know Ken Mambo and his cohorts will be looking for some big plays. Teo Johnson coming off a big game last week. 4 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown.
Mike Vanderjagt will kick this off. The first meeting of the season, back-to-back weeks now. The Toronto Argonauts trying to bounce back from their humiliation last week. The kick to newcomer Michael Jennings. Wearing Stampeder red, Jennings almost broke one. Nice first touch from Michael Jennings, a former track star in the NC2A.
Michael Jennings provides great field position for Henry Burris and the rest of this Calgary offense. Burris has been on fire in his last couple. 8 touchdown passes, no interceptions over his last 2 games. And there you see the receiving core. We have mentioned the emerging presence of Teo Johnson. On the offensive line, a little shuffle. Jeff Pilon is out. Jesse Newman moves to tackle. Derek Armstrong in the starting lineup at guard.
Burris, handoff to Joffrey Reynolds. Willie Pyle with the first tackle of the game here. Our starting lineups are brought to you by Holiday Inn Hotels. Look again at Holiday Inn.
The Toronto Argonauts defense continues to change its look. Claude Harriott gets the start at defensive end this week in place of Ronald Clemens. Also look for Walter Curry on that D-line. Adrian Mays continues to replace the injured Mike Fletcher at linebacker. On the back end, these guys will have to introduce themselves. Pete Hunter, Will Poole, the latest to make their debuts in the Argonauts starting secondary.
So many fresh faces for the Argos, and Henry Burris goes to test them right away. But the pass, his first pass from scrimmage today, intended for Nick Lewis, incomplete. Nick Lewis is a little banged up, but he's ready to go today. And so now the Stampeders will kick the football away.
Not the start, clearly, the Stampeders were looking for. You saw that aggressiveness from Henry Burris on second down, trying to go deep. The Argos were hurt by those big plays last week, and that was the difference in that loss against Winnipeg. Calgary certainly watched that game film, and they're going to try and attack, especially with a couple new faces on the back end.
Bergdale's back near his 45-yard line. And Mr. Dynamite, Dominic Dorsey, back near his 10. High kick, twisting in the wind, and bounces into the end zone where Dorsey will give up a single point. So 1-0 Stampeders.
It's a small thing, but that's a great decision by Dominic Dorsey to let that go for the single. For Cody Pickett making his first start, first series, don't give him bad field position. Let's bring it out to the 35 and give him some breathing room. Pickett coming off a 9 of 13 performance and cleanup duty against Winnipeg gets the start here today. And that receiving core, they're still looking for Bethel Johnson to get going. He's had just 11 catches so far this season. The offensive line, Mark DeWitt, number 53, the rookie from the University of Calgary, where he played right in this stadium, replaces the veteran, Jude St. John, who's injured at left guard.
Behind center, Pickett, a pump fake, and then a little out pattern to Reggie McNeil. A little hitch, but McNeil couldn't hang on to it, so Cody Pickett gets, again, his first start, and his first pass is an incomplete one as an Argo, as a starter.
And I suspect that that Calgary defense took away what Cody Pickett wanted, which was the deep ball. You look for these guys up front to bring some pressure. Charleston Hughes, 3 sacks on the season. Mike Labinjo, 4 from the other end. Salim Rashid back the last couple games at middle linebacker. On the back end, Julian Battle is out, so Calvin Bannister is back in the starting lineup.
Right back to McNeil, who fumbled the football, and a whistle, and Calgary has it. Shannon James has the football. Do not see a challenge flag or anything of the sort. Cody Pickett with the completion to Reggie McNeil. Let's take a look.
He hits McNeil out on the wide side. Dwight Anderson comes up quickly, and you can see that ball was clearly popped out before Reggie McNeil hit the ground. What a break for the Calgary Stampeders. Nice short field for Henry Burris.
So the first turnovers plaguing the Argos last week against Winnipeg. And there is a challenge flag that's been flown from the far side of the field. And there's Don Matthews. Second game now. Second week in his 22 seasons as a CFL coach. The all-time leader would like to get his first win. Returning to the Argos this week in Calgary. Talks with Jake Ireland now, the head referee.
You see McNeil lands, and you can see that ball coming out from under his arm almost immediately.
Toronto has challenged the ruling on the field of catch and fumble.
Toronto's going to make the argument on that bang-bang play that the ball had popped out before this qualified as a completed pass. Reggie McNeil landed. To me, he reset his feet after he landed and caught that football.
So Jake will go underneath, and again, a bang-bang play. The ball immediately popping out to see if it's ruled an incomplete pass or indeed is a fumble.
Of course, we always remind fans when they see a play like that and it looks like Reggie McNeil had control for a long time. Remember, you're seeing that in slow motion, and there's a judgment that has to be made at full speed here as well as to how long McNeil had the ball in his possession, as to how much of a bang-bang play this is.
McNeil being worked on the sideline. Here's the full speed version. Very close.
And this is one where Don Matthews, if it's close at all, Don Matthews has to challenge because of the field position. He doesn't want to put his young team and his slightly fragile team in terms of their confidence in a hole as far as field position to start the game.
After review, the Toronto receiver never gained possession of the ball.
There you go.
It is an incomplete pass.
That was a good challenge.
Toronto at the 35-yard line.
So immediately, the kick team comes on and will give the Stampeders less of an advantage here in field position. So Don Matthews, before he left, those yellow flags weren't as prevalent in the Canadian Football League when he retired back in 2006. They certainly are now, and a challenge won by the Argos.
Great assistance for Don Matthews from his spotters up in the booth, the eyes on the sidelines.
Jack again. Averages 45 yards a kick. Marcus Howell, number 88, back for Calgary from his 33. Dodges one tackle. Another. Marcus Howell down the sideline now. And they've still got great field position. Even after the review, there is a penalty flag on the play. We'll sort it out when we come back. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people. Before we went to break, there was a penalty on the play. It is against Toronto.
Yeah, Andre Dury playing special teams, called for the horse collar tackle. You see just at the end there, grabbed the back of Marcus Howell's shoulder pads to pull him down.
Burris now looking over to the sideline. Incomplete pass, looking for the CFL's reception leader right now, Kenyon Rambo.
You see the Calgary Stampeders there trying to get Henry Burris outside of that pocket. One of the many uses we'll see for Big Teo Johnson, who's a man blocking on the edge in that situation. You'll see him line up at a lot of different spots today. We'll be keeping an eye on some of the mismatch problems that he can create for a defense.
Teo Johnson with a big catch last week. Montreal. Burris takes off his time. Henry Burris is finally down, but look what he gained. Burris gained a lot more there, just kept churning and got himself a first down when it looked like he might have been stopped for only a couple of yards.
This is the type of play, it's a perfect example of something that's uncharacteristic, that's plagued the Toronto Argonauts all year. Missing tackles. You see guys with hands on, shots to pull Henry Burris down. Admittedly, Burris had a little help from his friends at the end of that one, but they had an opportunity to end this drive.
Joffrey Reynolds nowhere to go, fumbled the football but got it back. Willie Pyle on top of him. Henry Burris went through an extensive weight training program in the offseason. Some of the effects of that, you saw those legs really moving there, but you talk about a guy who's really rededicated himself this year, and Henry Burris, the CFL Offensive Player of the Week, coming off a 5-touchdown performance last week.
Yeah, and the first Stampeder this season to be named the CFL's top offensive player. This is a frightening team when you look at the talent around Henry Burris, and Burris is the straw that stirs that drink.
Going to the end zone for Copeland, and overthrew him.
Yeah, Henry Burris definitely had his man Jermaine Copeland on that one. Had a step and had him to the outside, but just led him a little bit too much and out of bounds. Copeland's on a fade type route after the pump. See, he gets a step on his defender, Willie Middlebrooks, but just overthrown. Yeah, Hank knows he missed that shot.
So now Sandro DeAngelis, the most accurate place kicker in CFL history, 83.4% in the books, 30 of 35 this year. This just a little chip shot from the 17-yard line. 4-0 Calgary early on here at McMahon Stadium on TSN. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by the 2008 GMC Sierra, professional grade. A single and a field goal so far for the Stamps here. 10 minutes to go, opening quarter, the beginning of a doubleheader here today on TSN. Dominic Dorsey is back again. And Sandro DeAngelis will kick it to the Argonauts. Not keeping it away from Dorsey. Gets the ball at his 15. Finds a seam. Dorsey to the 40 and brought down at the 52-yard line. That's where Cody Pickett will get his second try from scrimmage here in Calgary today. And no Kerry Joseph, last year's most outstanding player, has had a miserable season.
So it's been a tough run for Kerry Joseph, and really nothing but turmoil and controversy since he got to Toronto. The latest, his demotion to the number 2 spot. But to Kerry Joseph's credit, through it all, he has been the consummate professional, and has said he'll support Cody Pickett however he can. The two of them are good friends and roommates on the road.
Pickett now. The handoff, what a play to Dorsey. And they are going to try to get the ball into the hands of Dominic Dorsey a lot today. Very dangerous in this new system that has been implemented by Don Matthews.
One of the things we did was identify our playmakers, and we identified them numerically. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Well, if they're the big playmakers, then it behooves us to say, okay, let's put the ball in the hands of the playmakers at comparable time to their skill level or their number.
So obviously, number 1 is Dominic Dorsey on that list. Number 2 is probably Arland Bruce. Number 3 might be a guy like Andre Talbot, who just made that catch.
Andre Talbot.
43. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Andre Talbot gains an extra 15 for getting his face mask grabbed on that one. But Andre Talbot, Reggie McNeil, I think probably jostling for that number 3 spot as we take a look at that penalty call. You can clearly see the hand of Brandon Smith came up on the tackle.
Pickett in the shotgun again. Once again to Reggie McNeil. Turns the other way, but meeting him head on, Dwight Anderson. And so that's what Cody Pickett's doing, is getting that ball to the playmakers.
This was exactly Cody Pickett's mission. He's said this all along. For him coming in as a quarterback, when you hear people talk about a quarterback needing to manage the game, this is what they're talking about. Protect the football, avoid turnovers. Don't try to win the game yourself as a quarterback. You've got guys who can make some plays for you, and the Argos certainly have that. Cody Pickett's job is to just get it in their hands.
Second down, 5 yards. Here's that play again to Dorsey. Rumbling now, and Dorsey is going to be held short of the first down. Tried that play a couple of plays ago, and this time read perfectly by the Stampeders.
And this is one we haven't seen from the Toronto Argonauts before this year, so clearly something that's got a little bit of a Don Matthews stamp on it. But this system, this numbering of his playmakers, as you see a bit of a statue type play here. Nothing really new for Dominic Dorsey. A little bit of a shot from Mike Labinjo there on his way down. This isn't something new. Don Matthews has always been a coach who has had in his mind the number of times in a game he feels that each of his skill position players should touch the ball. And so that's all he's saying by this priority system, is that if he feels Dominic Dorsey is his most dangerous weapon, common sense dictates he should get the ball the most.
Saw Steve Barato, the offensive coordinator, a former head coach here in Calgary. Mike Vanderjagt with the field goal, and it's a 1-point game again here in Calgary. The Stampeders on top. Cody Pickett, Kerry Joseph talking. One thing about the Argos this year, Dwayne Ford, is that they get off to good starts. They just don't have the staying power.
No, and there you see the Toronto Argonauts in the first quarter of games have outscored their opponents 47-40. In the other 3 quarters combined, they've been bombed 310 to 194, and they have been outscored in each of the other 3 quarters.
Argos 4-7 coming in. The Stampeders 7-4. And once again, Michael Jennings making his debut with the Stampeders, bringing that ball back.
Henry Burris and the Calgary offense come back out on the field. It'll be interesting to see if they try to get the ball deep again. Remember, those big plays, very costly against the Toronto Argonauts secondary last week against Winnipeg. It was the difference in that football game. And now with more changes on the back end and some communication issues back there, look for Calgary to try and take advantage.
Play action out of the backfield. Nick Lewis. That's now 82 straight games for Nick Lewis making a catch. He's 3 off the club record set by Alan Pitts of 85. Nick Lewis a little banged up, had a rib problem, had a knee problem, but always dangerous.
Well, he is always dangerous. One of many big play receivers in the Calgary offense. And this is something that the Argos fear. You look at the plays allowed over 30 yards. At this point last season, they had allowed 15. This year, 40% more big plays, 30-plus yard plays at 21.
2nd and 8 now. Flushed out of the pocket. Burris. Little pump fake and takes off again, looking for the first down marker, but he is knocked out just shy of it, maybe a yard and a half short.
This was a nice job defending the play by Adrian Mays. He was the man who was caught in no man's land as to whether to come up and play Burris or whether to drop and play the pass. Burris gave him a pump fake. Mays put his hands up, but he didn't leave his feet. Watch for number 43, Mays. He's tucked up in the line of scrimmage right now. Drops into his zone. Keeps his eyes on the quarterback. Watch when Burris pumps. He holds up for a second, but never leaves his feet, and that's what allows him to recover and get to Henry Burris before Burris could get to that first down marker.
Burkdale's. Dorsey again. Leader in all-purpose yardage. Dorsey swallowed up at the 28-yard line. So isn't it rather fitting that Cody Pickett should make his start here in Stampede City? His father, a Hall of Famer for rodeo, and Cody also grew up around the rodeo. That's his dad, Dee, who was also an ex-football player. And there's little Cody. He was a roper. I guess he still got a rope in his locker, and apparently when he was in San Francisco with the 49ers, he used to rope guys as they were coming by, bringing them down. That's why he didn't stay with the team very much longer. He was roping too many guys. Picking down the handoff. Dorsey reversing field and once again, number of red jerseys with a bullseye on Dominique Dorsey.
It seems like a little bit of the Argonauts' mission. If you look at the run plays they've run so far, that statue-type play, and then this simple stretch play, watch how deep in the backfield Dominique Dorsey is getting the ball. Look how deep Pickett drives back. The idea here is for a guy like Dorsey, who's got that great vision, the deeper you can get him the ball, the more of an advantage he's got. The more time he's got to make his read, the more space he's got to make his moves.
2nd and 10. And brought down, and a penalty flag on the far side of the field. Cody Pickett is sacked. To sort this one out. These are the two most heavily penalized teams in the Canadian Football League, and already we've seen a number of calls from Jake Ireland.
Offside. Calgary number 2. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Juwan Armour, Stampeder linebacker, with the infraction.
You're going to see Juwan Armour sneak up at the top of the line. You saw him leaning a little bit, licking his chops, trying to get to the young quarterback.
Cody actually brought down by himself. He's kind of slipped in the backfield. 1 and 2, most penalties. Argonauts the most penalized. 2nd and 5 now. Knocked down. Mike Labinjo, number 42. Canadian rush end.
What a fight Mike Labinjo has been at that end spot. Think back to the start of the season. Calgary Stampeders starting defensive ends were Fontaine Hunter and Juwan Simpson. Labinjo was a backup. Those guys both got hurt in the first game. Labinjo has been in the starting lineup there ever since. Leads this team with 4 sacks on the season, 5 tackles for losses. So he's been very instrumental in Calgary's ability to get a little bit of pressure.
Marcus Howell had a good return last time. 39 yards for Jack. Bit of a wobbler. Howell has to find an opening. And brought down right away. Hank Burris back at it when we come back. Well, last week, Lions got the best of the Rough Riders. Back-to-back now. BC in Saskatchewan from Mosaic Stadium. Coming up after this ball game. There is quite a logjam in that CFL West, isn't there?
Well, there sure is. Teams doing battle. We could see, well, who knows by the end of this weekend. We've got 8-3, 2 7-4, and 6 and 5.
Here's a reverse and dropped. Michael Jennings on the reverse, and a little double reverse there, and the Argonauts were not fooled, and newcomer Claude Harriot in on the play.
And this is a slow developing play. Harriot, number 92 on the defensive line, starts fighting outside but does a nice job recovering. Gets off the block by Nick Lewis, but recognized the play early. Before the ball was even handed off, he started coming back to the wide field to prevent them.
2nd and 17. Lewis now trying to pick up some yards after the catch, but he'll be held short of another first down. 3.5 minutes to go in the first quarter, and not much offense so far. Still a 1-point lead for the Stampeders, who rolled up tons of yardage and a lot of big plays last week against visiting Montreal.
Yeah, and no doubt they wanted to pick up exactly where they left off and thought there was an opportunity here against a Toronto defense that has a lot of new faces over the course of the last couple weeks. But Toronto's D has done a nice job thus far avoiding giving up some big plays and handling some different looks from the Calgary Stampeders offense, a team that gives you several unique sets.
Nails. Oh, good kick again. Sends Dorsey back to his 5. Dominic Dorsey trying to find a path. Cuts it up to the 24-yard line. So now Cody Pickett again. The Stampeders have had 3 consecutive 2-and-outs. The Argonauts haven't been able to move it very much either. 3 minutes to go here in the opening quarter.
Just take a look back at this play. Keep an eye on number 27, Brandon Browner. Always the first man down on punt cover, but the play doesn't end there. Look at the hustle, the recovery to get back and make the play on Dominic Dorsey. And this is a guy who's a starting corner on defense. He knows he's got to come back out here and play a series. He could be running to cover a 50-yard fly right here, but always happening on that punt cover squad.
And off up the middle. Jamal Robertson into the game. One thing about Brandon Browner, he comes back, plays the corner. He's not your typical corner as well. This is one of the most athletic guys around. But if he gathers with the other DBs, he looks like a center for a basketball team. He's a tall guy.
Well, he really does. 6'3", 210 pounds. And the unique thing about Brandon Browner as a tall corner is how good his feet are. You think so much about the footwork playing in that defensive backfield. For a tall guy to have such quick feet is pretty special.
Throwing down now. Pickett has lots of time. Cody Pickett in trouble now. Has to take off. And finally brought down on 2nd down and 7, and he'll be held short of another first down. Obviously, everybody was covered on that play. Pickett again played last week, the final quarter against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, that's a good decision by Cody Pickett to pull that ball down and run rather than trying to force something. Pretty good coverage from Calgary's defense. That, again, part of managing the game, which is Cody Pickett's main job here today. Avoid the turnovers, make good decisions with the football.
Now Michael Jennings. First day wearing the Stampeder red. And on their practice roster. Vanderjack against the wind. This guy's got lots of speed. Dropped the football. But Henry Burris is going to get pretty good field position to work with again here. 1:40 to go in this opening quarter.
We mentioned Henry Burris, how he's been on fire the last 2 games with 8 touchdown passes. Toronto, in their last 11 games this season, a total of 9. So it just shows you one team's production versus another's struggles here in the 2008 CFL season.
Stampeders trying to get their offense going. Wide out, almost picked off. Kenny Heatley had it in his mitts and would have had 6.
The danger of throwing that ball to the wide side. You recognize Kenny Heatley, the halfback on this play. Brett Ralph runs a quick out on him. Such a long throw. Heatley shows nice anticipation, makes a nice break on the ball. One that should have been 6 going the other way. But we now know why Kenny Heatley ended up playing DB instead of receiver.
Burris hangs in over the middle. Kenyon Rambo with his first catch. CFL reception leader brings it over midfield in one of the biggest plays of this ball game. 18-yard pickup.
A nice job here on a blitz pickup by the center, Rob Lazio. Right after he snaps the ball, you're going to see Kevin Iben, the defender, down at the bottom of your screen, number 35. Lazio's got to do what's called popping out. He's got to get all the way from the middle of the line to the outside to get that.
On the sideline is Ryan Thelwell. Brought down at the 15. Back-to-back big plays from the Stampeders after one was almost intercepted. So Henry Burris is making the Argos pay for that drop by Heatley.
And this just shows you the balance of the Calgary Stampeders offense, how many different receivers they'll distribute the ball to. Ryan Thelwell, again, zone coverage, veteran receiver, recognizes, sits down in space. That's an easy throw for Henry Burris for a big game.
Could be last play of the first quarter. And again, Rambo dragged down. The gun will sound. An 18-yard pickup from Rambo, then a 34-yard gain by Thelwell. Stampeders will threaten to score early in the second. Calgary leads by 1. The Kickers doing the scoring in the first quarter. Our numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Not exactly an offensive showcase so far. The Calgary Stampeders certainly dominating in that department, but not on the scoreboard yet. Pressing right now as we start the second quarter.
Pressing right now. Hank Burris and the Stampeders took Montreal apart last week through the air, especially around this region. You know, it's obvious that the Toronto Argonauts defense is going to have one of its bigger efforts this season.
Well, they certainly are. This is a team that had been built for so many years on that bend but don't break philosophy. Things have changed a little bit this year. They've been broken so far in 2008. this is going to be one of those big tests under Don Matthews. Let's see how they respond to start the second quarter.
There's Mike O'Shea. Tomorrow will celebrate his 38th birthday, second all-time in the CFL in tackles. Will the Stampeders be able to break the Argo D here? Second down and 2. Big down here. Up the middle. Reynolds down to the 1-yard line, and so the Stampeders will get 3 cracks from here.
We talked off the top about the unique ways in which Big Teo Johnson will be utilized in this Calgary offense. He lines up as a wingback here, but comes back as the lead blocker. Great kick out right here on Kevin Iben. Knocks him to the outside. Leaves a great gap for Joffrey Reynolds to run through.
Born in White Rock, BC, played in the NFL. So did his brother, who's an Argo, Rial, who's not in the lineup for the Argonauts today. They have looked forward to playing against each other. So first and goal for Calgary. Rob Cote in the backfield. Johnson there. Johnson. Wide open is Mike Labinjo for the touchdown.
We talked up Mike Labinjo's defensive stats. Here he is as part of that short yardage package. Mike Labinjo lines up. In this Elephants team, you'll see him on the right side. Everybody expects him to block. He just runs a thin post route. Nobody covers him because they haven't seen him release on that all season long.
Mike Labinjo, who grew up in Toronto, played in the NFL with Philadelphia, went to St. Michael's High School in downtown Toronto. Scores against a team he watched growing up. Stamps lead 11-3. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. First major score comes early in the second quarter here on a sunny afternoon. Toronto's Mike Labinjo scoring for Calgary, his first CFL touchdown. A little bit of deception used by the Stampeders there as Labinjo scores, and now Dominic Dorsey trying to find a gap, and he got tripped up near the 39-yard line. So pressure on now, the young quarterback Cody Pickett to try to answer. Labinjo comes out on the field now. The rush in gets the touchdown.
Well, Mike Labinjo, former high school running back at St. Michael's, which has a great tradition of running backs. Actually spent his first couple of years at Michigan State University playing running back before switching over to the other side of the ball. So he was no doubt clamoring for the opportunity to show off his offensive skills there.
He's been in the end zone before. It's just been a little while. Pickett once again, the hitch pass out to Reggie McNeil. You know, you go back and how it all transpired, however. Here was the key play.
Cause and effect. The Toronto Argonauts had an opportunity to be ahead in this ball game. Kenny Heatley could have picked off that ball and taken it for 6. But he missed that. The drive continues. Culminates in Mike Labinjo's first CFL touchdown.
24th touchdown toss for Henry Burris this season. 2nd and 8 again. Pickett again. This is a quick hitter. Whoa, Andre Talbot takes the hit. Brandon Smith with the lick there. Very close to the first down. Oh, violent collision there, and always good to see the guys get up. Here it is.
Good pop. Andre Talbot. Tough receiver, pops up right away.
And there is a penalty flag.
Calgary number 42. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
So it'll be 2nd down now.
Mike Labinjo looking to make a play on defense this time, got a little over anxious, and this is a sign of the situation for Calgary. You know they want to get after Cody Pickett. They want to get in his face. They've seen Toronto's offensive line give up some pressure the last couple of games. They're a little over-anxious right now.
Second down and 3. It's with a slant. Has it. And fumble. Bethel Johnson fumbled right into the hands of Dwayne Carpenter. Brandon Browner knocked the ball out of Bethel Johnson's hands, and the Stampeders take over again.
Well, they finally get the ball to Bethel Johnson. He runs a quick slant from the top of your screen. He's working against Brandon Browner, the corner. Beats him to the inside. Little help from a pick by Andre Talbot. But Browner, presence of mind with that left hand as he comes through to make the tackle. Punch up on the ball. He pops it loose.
Bethel Johnson has had some great years. Had a great preseason, Bethel Johnson did, for the Argos, but really has yet to strut his stuff. He's coming off the injured list. Burris. She's made. Kenyon Rambo. What a move on Kevin Ivan. Wow.
Well, this is a great finish on the play by Kenyon Rambo, juking one of the CFL's best open field tacklers, but it's made at the start. Joffrey Reynolds, the running back, with a blitz pickup on the linebacker, Willie Pyle. But how about this move? Leaves Kevin Ivan grasping at air.
Stampeders marching again. Lewis again. Only a couple of yards. And already, Kenyon Rambo now over the 1,000-yard receiving mark. And this in his 12th game of the season.
And Kenyon Rambo shows a little shift in the trend of how teams are using their receivers in the CFL. Typically, you expect slot backs to lead the way in catches because they're closer to the quarterback, closer to the middle of the field. Now you see teams isolate that short side receiver. Guys like Kenyon Rambo and Perry Watkins are benefiting.
Over the middle again, trying to make an acrobatic catch is Rambo, who usually comes up with those. You almost expect Kenyon Rambo to make every catch, the kind of grabs he has made this season.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable this season. And this one, maybe one or two more steps while the ball was in the air, where he stopped and set his feet to jump. Looked like he had trouble trying to judge just how high that ball was going to be when it got to him. If he had taken one or two more steps, he would have been able to get up and get that one.
Sandro DeAngelis once again from the 37-yard line. And once again, right down Main Street. An 11-point advantage now for the hometown Stamps. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Ramada Worldwide. You can do your thing, leave the rest to us. Calgary Stampeders doing their thing so far. 14-3 they lead. Cody Pickett in his first start after Kerry Joseph was demoted this week to back up, and Bethel Johnson fumbles that football. Results in another Calgary field goal. Dorsey now trying to get something going, head down once again to the 39-yard line. Talked about the numeric system. And if we go by these numbers, here's the touches today for the Argos.
And here's the one that stands out. Arlen Bruce, yet to touch the football so far. You have to wonder if that is by design in the Don Matthews evaluation system, or just the fact that they have not been able to get him the football. But he's certainly a guy we expected to see a lot more involved here in the game today.
Bannister on Bruce. Pickett going from the backfield, looking for Jeff Johnson, and so far Cody Pickett's start has been rather unimpressive. Not much spark for the Argo offense right now.
Oh, having some trouble moving the football. Clearly, they've been fortunate that their defense has been able to dodge a couple of bullets, settle for field goals instead of giving up touchdowns.
4 of 8 so far. Newcomer PK Sam is into the game. Played with Pickett in NFL Europe. Penalty flag. Looked like someone jumped. Once again, Reggie McNeil. And that's a first down, but we'll have to see what the flag is about. Pickett seems to think it's going against Calgary.
Offside. Calgary number 39. Penalty is declined. First down.
Another penalty to the Stampeders. Charleston Hughes, the other rush end for John Hufnagel and the Stamps.
And we're not able to hear from up here, but you have to wonder as well if Cody Pickett is doing a nice job of mixing up his snap counts here and getting that defensive line leaning.
Quick back pedal and over the middle for Jamal Robertson, and a nice tackle from Juwan Armour.
This Calgary linebacking core has been so good this season. Juwan Armour showing his versatility, bouncing from the weak side linebacker spot, spending a little bit of time at middle linebacker in place of Salim Rashid. Here you'll see Armour number 2 to the right side of your screen, drops into his zone, reacts quickly and closes on the football. Does a good job to hold on to that foot, bring down Jamal Robertson.
If he doesn't make that shoestring tackle, be a big gainer for the Argonauts. 2nd and 7. Talbot looking for the first down. Knocked out of bounds, and it looks like the spot is right at that first down marker. Well, maybe a little bit shy again. He had to get beyond the 50-yard line, close to the 49-yard line for the first down, and it looks like this might be gamble time for the Argos. It's about a half yard.
Yeah, this is a gimme that they have to go for this. And this is a nice job by Andre Talbot to fight for that first down marker. He also got a nice block from Arlen Bruce. So it's good to see number 5 doing things away from the football to help out his teammates, even though he's not getting the rock himself.
Lunges forward and has the first down after the push behind the offensive line. And again, this is an offensive line that a little bit beleaguered this week after last week with Kerry Joseph, and again some newcomers on the line, including Jonte Woodard, number 69, and Mark DeWitt.
Watch the surge, especially from the right side of that offensive line, taking control of that 50-yard line to get the first down. Nice job. And Andrew Green, the veteran, many years with Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, was in on that short yardage play as well. Moving this Argo lineup.
Dorsey shakes one and another, and a big play. Little swing screen to Dominic Dorsey, had open field. And this is one of the Argos' biggest offensive plays of the afternoon.
Again, we talked about Dominic Dorsey on the run plays, getting the ball deep in the backfield. Here you see him getting the ball with a little bit of depth on a passing play. Watch the block right out in front, number 33, the fullback, Jeff Johnson. Terrific job. That's what allows Dorsey to scoot around the outside there. Nice job by Johnson. It's tough to block defensive backs in space.
Play action again, another short pass. Ball is fumbled. Calgary has it, but the whistle had blown. Jeff Johnson lost the ball, but did that ball come out before Jeff Johnson was down?
Well, we're going to take another look at this one. Look at how fast Toronto's going to try and get to the line before the flag can be thrown.
The ball is definitely out. That's a fumble.
And Chris Jones was running to John Hufnagel to tell him to throw that flag, and they got it in time.
And it looks like the Stampeders, based on what we just saw, are going to get the football back after another fumble from Toronto.
Watch, Johnson is airborne when this ball comes out. And there's little doubt that this one will be called a completed pass. Johnson had time to certainly take a couple of steps before being hit by Shannon James.
It looks like this is going to be Calgary football. Jake Ireland will come under the hood.
And Chris Jones, the Calgary's defensive coordinator, basically went sprinting to his head coach John Hufnagel to tell him to throw the flag when he saw the Argonauts trying to get to the line in a hurry.
Calgary has challenged the ruling of down by contact.
And keep an eye on the Calgary sideline here. And Chris Jones is the guy holding up his hands right here on the right side of your screen.
He just got word from upstairs. They saw the replay and they throw the flag. And of course, Chris Jones has a long connection with Don Matthews going back to his Montreal days.
Yeah, Chris Jones was Don Matthews' defensive coordinator when they were both with the Montreal Alouettes. And so Jones has been a valuable resource for Calgary's offense in trying to prepare this week. A lot of question marks facing Toronto for their opponents because you don't know exactly what to expect from them. Chris Jones at least provides the perspective that he's a guy who can tell you this is what Don's tendencies are as a defensive coach. This is what his priorities are, the things he tries to shut down and the things he might give you. And so he's been able to share that with George Cortez, the offensive coordinator, as he's made his game plan for this week.
And here is the verdict
After
from Jake.
review, the ball carrier fumbled prior to being down with contact. The fumbled ball went directly to a Calgary player at the 34-yard line. Therefore, it is first down Calgary.
It is first down for the Stampeders after the Argonauts had their most penetration here into Stampeder territory.
You see Jeff Johnson make the long, lonely walk back to the sidelines. He knows how costly this is. We talked about the inability of the Toronto offense struggling to move the football. They managed to move it a little bit. That's why this one hurts in particular, this turnover. They finally had some momentum.
Argonauts have had trouble holding on to the football. That's a second fumble lost. One earlier that went against Calgary in a review. That would have been 3. And dropping the football out of the backfield, John Cornish.
And you've seen Calgary in this game. John Cornish has been in a couple of offensive sets for the Stampeders. Seems to be a little bit more involved in their offensive game plan. This is a guy, a Canadian, who's the starting tailback at the University of Kansas for his last couple of seasons. He's made his mark here early in the CFL on special teams, as you see Stamps offensive coordinator George Cortez. But he knows he's got so many weapons at his disposal. He's just trying to find ways to utilize them all to keep the defense off balance.
Burris in trouble, brought down. Walter Curry with the sack. Hammered. Hank. That was a big play by the Argo D.
Yeah, and you're going to see big number 98, Walter Curry, in the middle of that defensive line. He comes on a twist with the nose tackle, Adriano Belli, and ends up unblocked on the play. You wonder if the shuffling in the Calgary Stampeder offensive line, remember, right tackle Jeff Pilon is out, which means Jesse Newman has moved to tackle. Derek Armstrong is in at guard. Sometimes that can create some communication issues and a little bit of uncertainty. Walter Curry was one of the bright spots for Don Matthews last week. He commented on the play of his 2 defensive tackles, Walter Curry, and of course the veteran Adriano Belli against Winnipeg.
Argonauts are going to get the football back, and now they're going to have to get some crazy glue on those fingers. And dropping the football, and there's a penalty now here. Time count violation.
Time count violation. Calgary number 16. 5-yard penalty. It remains third down.
And again, Burke Dale's now kicking into the wind. The Argonauts are going to get some favorable field position here, especially with Dominic Dorsey back to return.
Well, Dorsey has been the big play guy, whether on offense or special teams for the Argos all year. They could use one right here.
So then Browner downfield quickly. This is this tackle. Dorsey to the 46-yard line, and now the Argos have to get their offense going again. Big play by Walter Curry. Who will be the next Brian Deesberg? Wendy's kick for $1 million. The West quarterfinal is down to 4. Kevin in Dallas, one from Saskatoon and Calgary. Among the entries and out east, Brian and Omar. And their East quarterfinal, September 27th. They kick off East versus West.
The pressure is on.
For $1 million. Wendy's kick for $1 million back. And, of course, the final will be Friday, October 3rd in Toronto. The Argonauts pick it now. Hands off to Robertson. And the Calgary Stampeders even look at Cody Pickett and say, hey, man, don't bother going here.
No, the Calgary Stampeders did a nice job sniffing this one out. Disciplined rush upfield, so they're in their lanes. Means there's not a great gap for Jamal Robertson to run through.
Cody Pickett and the Argos. Second down conversions have been a problem here so far. 5.5 minutes to go before halftime. Lots of time for Pickett. Over the middle. And once again, an Argonaut receiver in and out of his hands, and that was Jamal Robertson. Pickett's not getting a lot of help here today either.
No, and this was one of the issues that led to the downfall of Kerry Joseph. Nice job by the offensive line here. They had this picked up. Robertson is uncovered. Throw is a little bit behind him, but it's one that he should catch. You wonder a little bit if Jamal Robertson had trouble picking up the ball out of Pickett's hands, just being behind that offensive line, but nonetheless, a ball that he should catch.
Well, the ball was kicked out of bounds. Mike Vanderjack, you have to kick it inside 20-yard line. That ball went out well before that, so there could be a re-kick here, or the Calgary Stampeders will take it where it went out of bounds. Not a good kick
We have
there.
an illegal punt out of bounds. Toronto number 13. That penalty is declined. First down, Calgary.
And Calgary will take the good field position. Let's go to the sideline now and join Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine.
Thanks, Rod. Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said Cody Pickett wasn't getting very much help. I just talked to Kerry Joseph, and he said Pickett is playing pretty well, but he hasn't been given the chance to show what he has because of the several second and longs, and of course the turnovers never help. But Joseph made sure, he said, and he wanted to tell me that Pickett is a good player.
Well, Roomies and good friends. Brett Ralph hangs on. What a catch. In traffic. Brett Ralph does something that the Argo receivers have had a hard time doing today, hanging on to the football.
Yeah, Brett Ralph does a nice job. Watch the pump and go. Hank Burris sucks up the Toronto secondary. Hits number 11, Brett Ralph, right down the seam. Ralph takes a lick there, but holds on to the run.
Burris in trouble, escapes. A big gainer here for Henry Burris. And once again, the Stampeders gallop deep into Argonaut territory.
Watch what Henry Burris does here to get around Claude Harriet. Pump fake gets him up in the air. Remember earlier, Adrian Mays made a play because he didn't leave his feet. Harriet's the contained guy. He's got outside responsibility on that play. He gave it up because he jumped. And the result is a big gain for Henry Burris.
Henry Burris, who has put himself on the all-time list in a number of categories, second and third now, all-time as a quarterback. Here's a reverse again and a play action to the end zone. And unable to run underneath it was Kenyon Rambo, but Burris sold that perfectly.
Well, he sure did. He faked the end around to Brett Ralph. Nice job ball handling. Nice job by Brett Ralph to sell it by running full speed. But just overthrew his receiver, Kenyon Rambo, in the end zone.
So second down and 10. Rambo to the right. Melwell to his left. Top of the screen. Penalty flag. Someone jumped. Joffrey Reynolds still on his feet. Took a couple hits there. But it's a first down if the penalty is against Toronto. Very close to a first down there. Byron Parker was in on the hit. So too Kenny Heatley. Looks like the penalty is against Toronto.
Offside. Toronto number 51. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Ray Fontaine analyzed.
Fontaine in getting some reps at that defensive end spot. Toronto's defense has been kept on the field a fair bit here in the first half. We're starting to see them roll some people through, try and keep their defenders fresh.
Second down and 5. Reynolds in the backfield. Burris, quick hitter. Lewis, first down. 3-minute warning on the field. Stampeders own an 11-point lead, threatening to score once again. Back at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, the Stampeders in the red zone again today. Scored 1 touchdown. Mike Labinjo on the receiving end of that. Will they be able to find pay dirt again? Score actually flatters the Argos a little bit. Burris, wide open, touchdown. Nick Lewis. That was as easy as it gets.
So many weapons in the red zone, it's tough to cover them all. This time it goes to Nick Lewis. But once again, credit. A play made here by Teo Johnson. He's number 86 at tight end. Moves up from a fullback position this time to be the pass blocker on the edge against a defensive end. He seals that edge, which allows Henry Burris to get outside and have time to find number 82, Nick Lewis.
The Stampeder receivers starting to shred some of these newcomers in that Argonauts secondary. And not only this week, but that Argonauts secondary isn't even close to what it was last year in terms of personnel. There's so many changes. And Nick Lewis has his 8th touchdown of the season.
Lewis just ran a simple route down the seam. He's left uncovered. Hooks it up just before the goal line. No one close enough to make a play on him. There's nothing concealed about what Nick Lewis did on that play.
Well, again, just like last week, the Argonauts are going to have to find a way to get some momentum before halftime and get a score here. Otherwise, like last week, Don Matthews will be bouncing some checks.
Well, I'm sure that process of evaluation will continue for the Don over the course of a few weeks here. And I'm sure he's making a few mental notes on the sidelines right now. Mentioned that rotation on defenses. We're starting to see some more bodies in there. I'm sure a portion of that is related to that evaluation process. He wants to get a look at everybody and decide which players are going to give this team the best shot at getting in the playoffs. So we see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers looking to make a move on that second seed in the East.
Dominic Dorsey again. Dorsey, this time to the 36-yard line. Last week, Don Matthews said, hey, the new sheriff is in town. What I'm going to do is at my bank account, my bank is empty. I will give you the checks. I will either cash them or you won't cash them the next day. And already this week, a couple of players, one in particular, Kerry Joseph. There he is. Might we see Kerry Joseph, or is that against the grain for what Don Matthews does? Once he makes a statement, once he sends a message, will he be compelled to leave Cody Pickett in this game?
Well, I take the word of a quarterback who played for Don Matthews, Matt Dunnigan, who always refers to the Don as a one-quarterback guy. Andre
Talbot has a first down, it looks like, depending on the spot here.
And if you think back historically, Don Matthews' teams haven't been ones where we've been talking about quarterback controversy over the years. If anything, the criticism has been hesitation by Don Matthews to give his backups playing time, even when games have been in hand. If you think back to 2004, when Anthony Calvillo was backed up by Ted White, AC got hurt in the East Final, and an inexperienced Ted White had to go in and play. Don Matthews is going to ride his horse. Now it's Cody Pickett.
Former rodeo star. Again, just a little pitch and catch here on the far sideline with Bethel Johnson. Obviously, John Huffnagel has also told his horses this week to be aware and be ready for a guy they don't know a lot about. Remember, that happened to the Stampeders earlier this year when Ryan Dinwiddie came in and led the Blue Bombers to a victory, a quarterback that they didn't know a whole lot about.
Yeah, Calgary has drawn a lot of parallels between this game and that Winnipeg game. They're facing a team that's an underdog, seems to be struggling, making some changes. Of course, the change at quarterback being the big one. And they've said, don't take it too lightly.
Dorsey in trouble here. Reverses field. Dominic Dorsey, again, another cut. What a run by Dominic Dorsey. Basically stopped for a loss and then almost gets the first down.
And this is what we've come to expect from Dominic Dorsey, who is one Toronto Argonaut who is not disappointed this season. But he got a nice block on this play from none other than his quarterback, Cody Pickett. When Dorsey reversed field, Pickett just tried to get in the way. He ends up picking up the defensive end, Charleston Hughes. That allowed Dorsey to bounce it back outside, get close to those first down markers.
Pickett, who was a star at the University of Washington, very short there, just a little bit shy of that first down, inch or two. But Pickett was a star at Washington, drafted 7th round by San Francisco, and again did get into a few games as a starting quarterback for the 49ers. Went to Europe, played with the Rhine Fire last year, and of course has been with Toronto, but in a backup role. So here it is, 3rd and inches.
Could you imagine a gamble by Don Matthews here? Throwing the football.
Now there is a penalty flag. Looked like a bit of a botched snap between Chad Folk and Cody Pickett. Stampeders feel they stuffed Cody Pickett, but let's see what the penalty flag suggests.
Procedure, Toronto, 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
So moot point. Mike Vanderjack will have to come out and kick the football away.
Take a look at the snap on this one. Wonder if the ball came up early, if they were trying to go on a short count to draw Calgary offside there, or Cody Pickett tried to use some inflection in his voice. But that little hitch in the exchange between Cody Pickett and then center Chad Folk led to the procedure charge.
Stampeders will get a chance to expand their lead here. Now 18 points, a minute 38 to go. And another bad kick from Mike Vanderjack. But he's going to get pretty good bounce here down to the 10-yard line. And there's a no yards call.
Well, typically that no yards call on a bouncing ball is 5 yards, but we saw last week if the no yards is intentional, that can be a 15-yard flag still.
No yards. Toronto number 52. 5-yard penalty. First down.
It has not been a very good homecoming for Don Matthews, and the Argonauts been outscored 60-12 over their last 6 quarters. Calgary can add to that tally. Reynolds bashes, still on his feet. They can't bring him down.
Those tackling issues continue for a Toronto Argonauts team that had made its mark by not missing chances to bring down ball carriers. Struggling. There's no way Joffrey Reynolds ever should have gotten a first down on this play. Watch how many white shirts get their hands on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shouldn't happen.
Burris takes it over the right side. And again, picks up a few more yards. A minute 6 to go. Guy they call Smilin' Hank around here, and has had reason to smile this season. His name right up there with the most outstanding player candidates, but still a lot of football to go. And the key for this team, To keep it rolling, the Calgary Stampeders, remember how they fell apart, crumbled down the stretch last year. Only had a 7-win season, 1 win over their last 7 games. Carried over into the playoffs. Once again in traffic, sure-handed Brett Ralph makes the catch.
Well, just to continue that thought on the play of Henry Burris, and consistency has always been the knock on this guy. If the last three games, or call it 2.5 at this point, are any indication, 10 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He's catching fire at the right time of year, Rod.
Nick Lewis again. Lewis brought down finally by Byron Parker, and once again getting into field goal range and maybe even another touchdown before halftime for the Calgary Stampeders, who are now seemingly having their way offensively with the Argonauts.
Well, they've worn them down over the course of this first half, and they have picked up a couple of first downs that have been a little bit too easy. Toronto has dodged bullets by tightening up at the right times. There have been a couple times in this football game when they've been able to hold the Stampeders to field goals at times when they were really pressing. This is one where they need it going in before the half.
First and 10 again. Burris takes a peek, goes deep for Copeland, and it is picked off. Pete Hunter has the football. Little jump ball. And an interception thrown by Henry Burris here.
Well, we said they needed it, and Pete Hunter delivers the big play. Watches his receiver, reads Jermaine Copeland. Looks like Copeland has it, but Hunter steals it away on the way down. You'll see Jermaine Copeland has both hands on that football initially, but on the way down, Pete Hunter pulls it away. Signs of the Argo teams of old that always came up with the big play when they needed it.
Just 37 seconds to work with. Pickett down, out, and up for Arland Bruce. First time that he's thrown deep. First time he's thrown to Arland Bruce today.
When they tried to get Bruce on the out and up on that one, but Dwight Anderson had him locked down. Out on that wide side. And you'll see number 5, Arland Bruce, right around the 40-yard line here. There's his outbreak, and then he turns it up. But Dwight Anderson is right there with him. Good read and good help by the safety, number 31, Wes Lysak, on that play as well.
30 seconds now before halftime. Pickett again, fires, catch made by PK Sam. His first as a CFLer. Philip Kenwood Sam, former New England Patriot draft pick.
Nice job by Sam to hold on to that football after he takes a big lick and to have that presence of mind to turn upfield, keep his feet, and keep running.
He and Pickett have a relationship, some chemistry back to NFL Europe with the Rhine Fire. Andre Talbot, back-to-back now. 14 seconds, at the very least, maybe one more, and a chance for Vanderjack for a field goal.
Well, we saw Cody Pickett move this football a couple possessions ago for the Toronto Argonauts. And remember, a fumble ended it. Argos can't afford to miss another opportunity here. Cody Pickett's got on a bit of a roll. Just needs his receivers to keep making plays for him.
Here's the rush, and down he goes. Salim Rashid brings down Pickett.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders brought pressure, and this is something the Toronto Argonauts have struggled with over the course of the last couple weeks. You see the middle linebacker, Rashid, up the middle, unblocked. And I'm going to tell you right now, the rookie Mark DeWitt, making his first start here, unfamiliar with some of the looks he's seeing, he's got to squeeze down and block that A-gap. You always got to block inside out, meaning protect those gaps closest to the inside first. Squeeze down. If someone comes free, it's got to be someone coming from the outside.
Salim Rashid played with Cody Pickett in San Francisco. Again, Mark DeWitt, who's from Calgary, was a CanWest All-Star, drafted in the 6th round this season, and they're getting some work with the veteran before this game began.
Yeah, Andrew Green, who is immediately the elder statesman of this Toronto O-line, though he just joined the team this week, working with the rookie Mark DeWitt, giving him a couple of pointers. And DeWitt, by the way, one of 3 offensive linemen taken in the 2008 draft starting here today, along with Calgary's 2 first-rounders, Jesse Newman and Dimitri Zumpas. DeWitt is impressed with his athleticism, gets an opportunity here today. You know there are going to be growing pains with a young offensive lineman. Mistakes are going to happen. Mark DeWitt is a guy with a bright future, but that one hurt in terms of field position and the timing.
Well, here it is. Argonauts need a Hail Mary now. No time on the clock before halftime, and Cody Pickett, the former rodeo star, is going to have to get back on his horse in the second half. Stampeders all over the Argos after 2 quarters. 21-3 Calgary. Halftime coming up with the Crew. Big Calgary lead heading to the 3rd quarter. The Toronto Argonauts, for the 2nd straight week, looking very, very flat under Don Matthews and the new era that is the old era once again.
Oh, we've got these 2 teams looking to adjust for the second half. For Calgary, as you see offensive coordinator George Cortez, it's about creating some confusion. Offensively, you saw Toronto's secondary a little lost when they saw some of those different looks. Defensively, same thing. Bringing blitz packages, they use different personnel. Chris Jones needs to continue doing that with some new faces on offense, including this guy, Cody Pickett. Now, offensively, for the Argos going into this second half, they got to challenge the Stampeder defense. We didn't really see many deep balls. We didn't see them really threaten contain a whole lot. Here's a great shot that shows respect and camaraderie between a couple guys who do the same job. Henry Burris on the way off the field at halftime taps Cody Pickett and says, "Keep your head up, kid." It just shows that the respect, the sportsmanship between a couple guys who are one of the few guys who can probably appreciate what Cody Pickett is going through right now, because he's in that lonely position of being a quarterback.
Henry Burris has been down that road before. There is a brotherhood amongst the quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League, and Dominic Dorsey nowhere to go here. Steve Barato giving him some final instructions for Cody Pickett, and he did show some spark to the offense. Back-to-back completions. PK Sam and Andre Talbot with some authority, but also those sacks by the Calgary Stampeders. And bottom line, Argonauts did not hang on to the football in that first half.
No, Cody Pickett needs to get a little bit of help, as you heard Jermaine Franklin relate a little bit earlier. Offensive line blocking and adjusting to blitz. Receivers making plays and hanging on to the ball.
It's over the middle again. Dorsey. And it's a first down, Toronto.
Good start for Cody Pickett. High percentage play, and I like the way he throws the football, Rod. You said the word just a minute ago. Threw it with some authority on this play. And we talked to Cody Pickett yesterday and asked him, so okay, what does Cody Pickett bring to the table? Number one thing he said is confidence. And that throw is a sign of him playing and throwing the football with a little bit of confidence, and that's what the Toronto Argonauts need right now. The guys around him are going to feed off of him.
Play action, looks middle again. That time not with authority, and behind the intended target, Andre Talbot.
Yeah, and Cody Pickett came back with this one after a nice zip on a very similar route, a crossing route on the previous play. This one he tried to baby the ball a little too much touch in there.
Some of those screen passes, we did see him baby those throws in that first half, and here's another to try to take a little off of it. And
yeah, and he knows there that he's got time. Andre Talbot's got a lot of room. He wants to make sure he makes the pass easy to catch.
But in the backfield again, Jamal Robertson, but once again short of the first down. Argonauts failing again on second down. And Mike Vanderjagt will come out again.
Well, there was an opportunity there for the Toronto Argonauts to string together a couple of first downs. They got one with the pass to Dorsey and had a chance for another one to Andre Talbot. The bad throw cost them.
Marcus Howell back at his 20. With the win, nice spiraling kick from Vanderjagt. Good block there. Springs Howell. He's back to the center of the turf. 21-3 Stampeders. Henry Burris, his first scrimmage of the second half. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Nissan's Make the Call. Play on cfl.nissan.ca for your chance to win a trip to the Grey Cup. Game 1 of our Saturday doubleheader here on TSN. BC and Saskatchewan. To Rider Nation after this game. Henry Burris standing in and look to his right, but an incomplete pass, a rarity for the Stampeders this afternoon. Let's go down to Jermaine Franklin once again.
Thanks, Rod. I talked to Don Matthews at the half, and he simply said his offense has to stop fumbling. Pickett is playing well, and they're putting him in good position, but then they ruin it with a fumble, which has taken points off the board.
Thank you, Jermaine. Fumbles have been a problem. Defense also has to hold here. Burris racking up some big numbers once again for the second straight week. Here's the rush, and down he goes. Finally some heat on Henry Burris. JB in there, Jonathan Brown, Kevin Iben, as the Argos were bringing.
You're going to see the linebackers here come up. Mike O'Shea, number 50, number 35, Kevin Iben. Iben comes free, but that pushes Henry Burris right into the waiting arms of one Jonathan Brown.
And that is something that you've seen in the past from Don Matthews coached teams when they bring the house like that. We saw it for so many years from a defense in Montreal that was so dominant.
It's all about that pressure and aggression on defense.
Burkdale's twisting punt against the wind. Dominic Dorsey makes one tackle miss. Brandon Browner was down there again, but Dorsey picked up a few yards. So Cody Pickett tried to engineer a drive here, but miscues have been a problem.
Yeah, and you heard Jermaine Franklin allude to it moments ago. Fumbled by Bethel Johnson when they were moving the football. The best drive to that point in the game, Jeff Johnson fumbled the football. Missed opportunities at times when there was a chance for the Toronto Argonauts to put points on the board.
Pickett does up his chin strap. Another quick hitter. This time Arlan Bruce. His first reception of this game, and it comes early in the third quarter. If he's number 2 on the priority list, that list hasn't been very good, but they haven't worked that list very well today.
No, not the target they had. Arlan Bruce, their most experienced receiver, their leading receiver so far this season. They just haven't been able to get him involved in this ballgame. That's only the second time they've even looked this way.
Once again, out pattern. Bethel Johnson. And the spot is going to be short of that first down yardstick. It'll be a long yard. And I don't think they're going to mess around with this. They're going to bring the kick team out.
Yeah, they don't want to gamble on their own side of center. This is one of the things that Don Matthews talks about when he suggests putting Cody Pickett in good positions. He doesn't want to have that field position battle shift so that Cody Pickett is getting the ball back on a long field. They're hoping for a good punt here. And hopefully pin Calgary in their own end, get some good play from their defense, and give Pickett the ball back in good shape.
Another boomer from Vanderjagt. Howell at his 10. And penning the Stampeders this time, 12-yard line. Well, the Ryder Cup is on in Valhalla, and the United States side has a 9-7 lead heading into the final round. The singles matches tomorrow. Americans try to break the drought against Team Europe. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. The Ryder Cup on TSN. And don't forget, tomorrow we'll have the Eskimos Alouettes game on TSN2. Available on Star Choice, Bell TV, and Shaw tomorrow for all of those viewers in northern Alberta. The pitch this time to Joffrey Reynolds. Kenny Heatley wasn't biting.
Well, that time, Kenny Heatley avoided the block by Teo Johnson, sidestepped him, made a big play for the Toronto defense to create a rare 2nd and long. situation for the Calgary Stampeders. Saw Toronto bring pressure on second down Calgary's last possession. We've got the same defensive look here.
So once again, the Argo defense counted on. Well, they bring some more heat on Burris, which appears to be a passing down. Here they come. There goes the ball. Nick Lewis lunges forward, but he'll be short of a first down, and so the Argos might get some favorable field position here.
They got the two elements they needed. If we go back to Don Matthews' decision to punt on that 3rd and a long one, it was about giving Cody Pickett the ball back in good field position. It relied on special teams to get a good punt and cover, which they got. It relied on the defense to come up with a stop. They got that part. Mission accomplished.
Like last week, though, against Winnipeg, the Bombers put the Argos in a deep, deep hole heading into that 4th quarter. The route was on, and the mission now for the Argonauts is to find a way to get some more points, find a way to get to the end zone.
Once again, Dominic Dorsey on special teams has been the spark for Toronto all year long.
There's the spark again. Cuts back and outside, and Dorsey will give Cody Pickett and the Argo offense the ball at the 49-yard line. And again, Don Matthews said this week that he has a priority sequence, a priority system in place for touches. Again, this is our ranking, really. He did mention that Dominic Dorsey was the obvious number 1.
Yeah, and those receivers, we anticipated Arlen Bruce would certainly be the number 2 guy in there, but based on the way the plays have gone and where the ball has gone today, just 1 touch for Bruce so far. Again, you question whether that's by design or if Calgary's defense has prevented him from getting the ball.
This ball thrown behind Bethel Johnson, and this play just did not develop. And this one, little pump fake. Johnson was flying down the sideline, and Cody Pickett could not deliver the football.
Yeah, I like the notion here. Remember, we go back to those halftime adjustments and talked about Toronto's need to challenge the Calgary defense a little bit. This was an attempt to get the football deep as they tried to do a hitch and go against Brandon Browner. Browner had good coverage, so Pickett adjusted by trying to go to a throw behind where Bethel Johnson would come back to the football. Didn't work out, but I like the initial notion there.
Over the middle, there's Arlen Bruce. 2nd catch. He's the big playmaker as far as receivers go for the Toronto Argonauts, in only his 2nd reception. 8.5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter.
And there you see Arlen Bruce lines up as the inside slot to the wide side. Number 5 just runs an in route. He gets inside position on his defender, number 19, Calvin Bannister. Again, the play made by the smallest guy on the field, Dominic Dorsey. Nice blitz pickup.
Dorsey barrels forward. Another pickup. 16 or 17 yards for Dorsey that time. Starting to accumulate more yardage. All-purpose yardage. Dominic Dorsey, the way it's going this season, could be the first CFLer to ever get over 4,000 yards.
Yeah, Dominic Dorsey has been the bright light in a cloud of darkness that's been the Toronto Argonauts season this year. Made a name for himself on special teams last season. It's hard to imagine that this was a guy who couldn't earn a full-time job with the Saskatchewan Roughriders or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It just shows you how in professional football it's about being in the right place at the right time, making the most of your opportunity.
Well, too long that time for Cody Pickett.
Illegal substitution, Toronto. 13 men in the huddle. 10-yard penalty. It remains first down.
Just when they were starting to move it again, another step backward. Don Matthews, that irks the all-time winningest coach in the Canadian Football League.
This is one of those things that goes back to lack of familiarity when you're trying to change some things in your system and guys aren't used to, okay, I'm the guy who goes out when so-and-so comes in. There needs to be communication.
Pickett has to dodge one, has to throw it. He does. Johnson has it. Bethel Johnson has the ball, and that time you could see him hanging on to it with all his life.
This would be such a huge asset for the Toronto Argonauts if they can get number 3, Bethel Johnson, going. We've seen Cody Pickett go to him a few times here. Stays alive for his quarterback on that crossing route. Nice job by Cody Pickett facing some pressure there to deliver a strike to his receiver.
An impressive resume, one of the most impressive in the CFL. 2 Super Bowl rings with the New England Patriots. Bethel Johnson has yet to get a touchdown for the Argos. Pickett going to the end zone and unable to run under it. Once again, Arland Bruce, who had double coverage that time. Keon Raymond, Calvin Bannister all over number 5. And it'll be 3rd down, and the best the Argos are going to be able to do is a field goal attempt.
A nice drive engineered by Cody Pickett. Unfortunately, they were unable to finish on that one. They need to get some points on the board here at the very least, though, so it's not a total loss.
Yesterday, last night, and Friday Night Football, you saw a couple of misplays, field goals that were very costly. The Winnipeg-Hamilton game, Vanderjagt missed it to the right. A single point. 21-4 now, Calgary. Well, every game, Purolator donates a quarterback's weight in food on a sack to a local food bank. Sack tally brought to you by Purolator, where business is going. You can see the Calgary Stampeders with 19 now, the BC Lions 37, and Cam Wake has made up for the majority of those.
Fans will have a chance to get a look at the frightening Cameron Wake in the second half of our doubleheader here tonight.
Not only a defensive player nominee, but he may be an outstanding player nominee, Cameron Wake. Joffrey Reynolds up the middle, 21-4 Stampeders. 6 minutes to go, 3rd quarter.
The Toronto Argonauts have had some opportunities here today. Missed opportunities. You think back to a chance in the first half. Kenny Heatley had a chance to intercept a football and would have scored had he picked off that ball. Instead, the Stampeders kept that drive alive and ultimately score a touchdown.
Burris. Nice grab. Kenyon Rambo, depending on the spot here, looks like it's a 1st down. Looks like this will move the yardsticks.
Kenyon Rambo got a little bit of help on the spot on that one as they mark his forward progress before he was pushed back a little bit.
Standing season for Kenyon Rambo. And again, we talked earlier about the Stampeders, how they limped to the postseason last year. Only 1 win in their final 7 games. Right now, a record of 7-4. They've equaled their win total of last year. Stampeders, of course, lost to Saskatchewan in the semifinals last year. Close game, 26-24. The idea, though, to get in, and this likely being a crossover year as well, but right now you can throw a lot of names into the hat in the West, because there could be a serious cluster by the end of this weekend.
They'll come right down to the final weekend is my guess.
Rambo again. Pushed out of bounds. And there's a penalty flag that just flew. And a little extracurricular stuff, it looked like, after the play, right near midfield. Here are the standings in the West. Again, Saskatchewan trying to stay atop the Western standings. Should BC win that game today, that would really make it interesting. How about those back-to-backs in the Canadian Football League? There seems to be a trend developing over the last couple of years. Is the team that wins that first game, the other team wins the next game. The team that lost the first.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary number 68. After the play, it'll be a 15-yard penalty and 2nd down.
Rob Lazio. But I mean, that is also about adjustments and teams making the necessary adjustments week to week.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's also a sign of the parity that exists in the Canadian Football League today, that it becomes very difficult to beat a team in back-to-back games, particularly when they're that close together, where there aren't going to be any drastic changes in terms of game plan or scheme. You make a couple adjustments here and there. But teams are so close in terms of their skill level.
This is the beginning of a back-to-back. Calgary will be in Toronto next week. Little pump fake down the sideline and thrown out of bounds. Henry Burris could hear the footsteps.
And Henry Burris shows his maturity as a CFL quarterback. Didn't like what he saw downfield. Knew that anything he could throw into the field of play would have been a forced ball. So he ends up just tossing that one to his long snapper, Randy Chevrier, on the sideline.
Burris will get together with some of those targets that he was looking for. Not nearly the numbers he had a week ago against Montreal. 5 touchdowns. Once again, Dorsey back. 4.5 minutes to go, third quarter. Dorsey dancing, contained this time. Right on the 25-yard line. Let's go down to the sideline once again. Here's Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Rod. Well, the coaching staff isn't very pleased at the way the Stampeders have come out in this second half, especially since the Argos have been able to move the ball offensively. They have yelled at the defense, and then the offensive coordinators have also warned the offense to pick it up, play football, and execute the plays that have been called.
Bad snap again. Thank you, Jermaine. Dominic Dorsey ran right into a red wall.
That red wall in the form of number 96, Miguel Robidet. Robidet has become a little bit more of a factor in this Calgary defensive line here this season. Watch the ball slide up the arm here of Cody Pickett. You see it kind of pop up into his chest. That throws his timing off a little bit as he's reaching to try and get the handoff to Dorsey.
Another throwing down here. Will it be a second down conversion? Looks for Talbot. Has the catch, but oh, what a lick. Brandon Browner has had a great game this afternoon on special teams and also in coverage. And another 2 and out for the Argos.
Yeah, it doesn't really do them a lot of good in this situation because it amounts to a 2 and out. But if you're looking for positives to build on, which is all the Toronto Argonauts can do at this point as they try to gain some confidence, this is the kind of thing you need your receivers to do. Andre Talbot with a hit bearing down on him, makes that catch in traffic, holds on to the football. If they can make a few more tough plays for their quarterback, it would go a long way.
Pulled it down, and he is down. Big rush by the Stampeders, who will take over at the Toronto 15.
Well, here's where things went bad on special teams for the Toronto Argonauts. They've got pressure coming. They need Mike O'Shea to step up to Ryan Thelwell right here so Jeff Johnson can slide over this way and take number 2, Juwan Armour. O'Shea stayed on Armour instead of bumping over. Thelwell comes free, and that's what allows or forces Mike Vanderjagt to pull that football down. There's no way he could have kicked that ball.
Had he tried to kick that, that ball might have bounced right back into the end zone. It would have been a touchdown. Picked up by Calgary. Cornish. It's a pitch there for Cornish.
Again, you see John Cornish starting to make his mark in this Calgary offense a little bit. And here's a frightening thought for you. Over the course of this season, we've seen the emergence of Calvin McCarty in the Edmonton Eskimos backfield, young Canadian running back. John Cornish and Calvin McCarty actually played on the same high school team.
I would say it was probably a winning high school team.
Never won a championship.
No. Just not enough ball there for both of them. Burris again to fire. Nick Lewis. And looks like another first down, very close to it. 8 catches now in this game for Nick Lewis, who was listed as maybe questionable earlier this week. Banged up rib cage and a knee problem.
And Lewis just runs a quick out against Pete Hunter, the defensive back. Gets that first down yardage. One of those situations where you likely want your defender to be a little bit tighter, knowing the situation, know where the first down marker is.
First and goal. Joffrey Reynolds nowhere to go up the middle. And I know there's a whole quarter left after this, but the way it's been going for the Argos today, this really could be a finishing touch on the Argonauts this afternoon, just like last week against Winnipeg. Might be looking at a fourth quarter where they're just trying to make some positive strides forward. Last week they lost 39-9. Burris knocked away last moment. Willie Middlebrooks on Kenyon Rambo. So the Argos are getting these little consolation victories here, allowing field goals, but Stampeders are still rolling up the score.
Calgary has kind of let Toronto hang around in this football game because the Stampeders have had some chances to punch the ball into the end zone where they haven't finished either. Unfortunately for the Argos, they haven't been able to mount much of a consistent attack in return. Then, as we saw in their last possession, when they did move the football, they came up empty, missing the field goal try. If they were able to capitalize on even a few of the opportunities they've been given in this football game, though, be a very different story here because Calgary has left the door open.
So the lead now 20 points. Sandro DeAngelis, another perfect day so far for him. Calgary Stampeders were able to punch it into the end zone a lot last week against Montreal. They haven't needed to do that so far against the Argonauts with 32 seconds to go in the third quarter. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. Getting into the end zone, no problem last week for Calgary. They haven't been able to do that a whole lot today, but here's what Toronto Argonauts have done with their first-round picks over the last 6 years.
Yeah, and you look at the Toronto Argonauts, and their personnel director, Greg Mons, mentioned this week that one of the issues that's faced the Argos is they've had a lot of guys hit the wall at the same time. They've kind of gotten old all at once. Part of the issue has been what's gone on, particularly in the first round of the draft for them since 2002. You look, they've got, over the last 2 years, Taylor Robertson, they traded their first-round pick to get him. He's a starting O-lineman. Traded their first-rounder in 2008 in the Kerry Joseph deal, who's now their backup quarterback. But other than that, they have nothing to show for the first round over the last 7 drafts. When you're trying to turn over your team and get some young blood in the system, you need those picks.
Dominic Dorsey jumping out. And who would have thought they make the trade for Kerry Joseph? 12 games in as an Argo. First time in his career benched as a starter. Doesn't look like he's going to be seeing any playing time here unless Cody Pickett gets hurt or maybe some garbage time later. Last year's most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League, the man who led the Saskatchewan Roughriders to the Grey Cup, standing on the sideline. Pickett back to work. 15 seconds to go in the quarter. PK Sam dropped it.
Well, a good throw from Pickett, but this was exactly what we talked about a few minutes ago on the catch by Andre Talbot. Cody Pickett needs his receivers to make plays for him. They can't afford that to happen.
Handful of times now today, receivers have been unable to hang on to the football or drop the football. Final play barring penalty of this third quarter. Here's the rush again. Pickett has it picked. Wes Lysak has it. The free safety runs free, and he will take it down to the end zone for the touchdown. Wes Lysak's 4th pick of the season. And it goes 56 yards for a major.
Keep an eye on Lysak. He's your free safety, number 31 in the middle of the screen. Cody Pickett tries to go down the middle. Lysak baited him by cheating to that left side. Jumped that route. Takes it back to the house. You'll see Lysak slides. Comes from the left side of the screen. He had slid to that side a little bit, but he still had his eyes on that receiver. Breaking down the middle of the field. When Cody Pickett looked there, Wes Lysak was all over it.
The final play of the third quarter might have been the dagger. Supplied by Wes Lysak. 31-4 Stamps. The gates now wide open for the Stampeders. Numbers after the third quarter. Our stats brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampeders starting to take control of this football game. The one that's glaring right now at the bottom of your screen, points off turnovers, 13 for the Calgary Stampeders, none for the Toronto Argonauts. That interception hurt.
Wes Lysak, 4 interceptions this season, almost has as many interceptions as he has had his entire career.
Yeah, Wes Lysak had 6 career picks coming into this season, hadn't had one since 2005. He's come up with some biggies for the Stamps here in 08.
And he's got a souvenir football, I am sure, because that is his first CFL touchdown on an interception return. Read that perfectly. 4 turnovers by the Argonauts, who now are desperate to take one to the end zone. Dominic Dorsey. Really, we talked about the numeric system, the weapons they have. Dominic Dorsey has been the only weapon today who's really done anything for the Toronto Argonauts.
And you have to wonder, as that evaluation process for Don Matthews continues in this, just his second game back at the helm of the good ship Argonaut, you got to wonder if there might be some changes to that numbering system after this game, if he reorders his players. But I think there's little doubt that number 34 is going to be at the top of the list.
And I know they sent a message to Kerry Joseph, who still has his cap on, but he is the most outstanding player from last year. I know a lot of people might be saying, hey, you know, Cody Pickett has had some moments, some good moments, some bad moments, some ugly moments in this game. Do you worry about erasing the confidence of this guy right here? His confidence already crushed this season.
As far as the 2008 season, it's right now. And for Don Matthews, he said that Cody Pickett is his quarterback. I don't think he's going to worry too much about Kerry Joseph's feelings, quite frankly. You know, Kerry Joseph is a part of this football team, and obviously Don Matthews will be concerned about him in that way. But if Cody Pickett is the guy who's playing, he's got to give Cody Pickett every opportunity. And Don Matthews is a man who has always lived with his decisions and stood by them, whether they've worked out or not. This is his decision at quarterback right now. He's got to give Cody Pickett a chance to play.
I guess some might think that, you know, Joseph, though, who has led teams in the past to comebacks and has obviously a resume full of great numbers, and a guy who can lead a team back. If this is Cody Pickett's team right now, are the Argos just trying to play this out, evaluating as they go? Because every game, every moment for any team in the CFL East is an important one right now. Is it worth evaluating, or do you have to go and make sure you try to get that W?
Well, I take a little bit of a read into what Don Matthews said during the week when he made that change at quarterback. And one of the words he used to describe Kerry Joseph was a victim. And I see him as a victim of circumstance. Coming in at midseason, Don Matthews can't change everything.
Pickett now. Jamal Robertson. And again, no Michael Bishop around now in Saskatchewan, the starting quarterback. That rubs it even more into the wound for the Argos. Here is the East. Again, Montreal playing tomorrow against Edmonton. Winnipeg with the win last night over Hamilton. The Tiger Cats fading and fading fast. Only 2 wins now.
And bear in mind, the 4th place team in the West right now is BC at 6-5. They've got 2 wins over any of the Eastern contenders for that 3rd seed in the playoffs.
Salim Rashid into it. Taylor Robertson, a former Stampeder. And this is what the Argos team has left and what the Blue Bombers have left. Looks like the Argos schedule might be a little more difficult down the road.
And these 2 teams face each other later in the season, but you take a look at the combined records of their opponents, and it would appear that the Toronto Argonauts have a slightly tougher schedule down the stretch.
Pickett knocked down.
Justin Phillips, former Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawk, first-round pick for the Stampeders in 2007, getting a chance to play on that defensive line. Phillips comes off the edge against the tackle Brian Ramsey. Ramsey misses the cut. Three-step drop. Pickett's looking to get rid of it in a hurry. But already, Justin Phillips was right there.
Mike Vanderjagt, again last time, almost had it blocked. Had to eat the football. No rush this time as they set up the return. So the Calgary Stampeders rolling. 13:25 to go, looking for win number 8. 2 7-4s tomorrow, the top 2 offensive teams in the nation. Eskimos and the Alouettes, 1 o'clock Eastern. TSN 2 tomorrow from Montreal. Available on Bell Express View, Shaw, Star Choice, and TSN.ca tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern. Eskimos and the Alouettes. That should be a barn burner. This one, not so much. All Calgary so far. And the Stampeders haven't made many mistakes and have capitalized on the Argos' mistakes.
Well, they definitely have, and particularly in that third quarter. Again, Calgary let Toronto hang around for a long time in this football game, as the Stampeders dominated on the field, but not necessarily on the scoreboard. They kind of took over with that Wes Lysak interception for a touchdown, being a straw that broke the camel's back.
Burris on his goal line and throws it out of bounds again. And I guess, you know, again, there's tons of time left, and we have seen great comebacks before. But the Toronto Argonauts today, their offense just hasn't shown any signs of much life as far as moving the football. They'd have to do something serious here in a big way to turn the tide in this game. And it's a big tide, a red tide. So also, do you start thinking, if you're John Huffnagel and the Stampeders, maybe taking Henry Burris out of the game a little bit later, particularly when you know that the Stampeders go as Henry Burris goes? Yeah,
you definitely, if the game continues in this direction, I would not anticipate Henry Burris finishing it. But at the same time, it's the Canadian Football League, and a lot of things can happen that you don't want to start counting your chickens before they... Let him go!
And the guy who can make things happen in a hurry is right here. Dorsey is 50, trying to find a seam. And finally, the Argos will scrimmage in Calgary territory after a 20-yard return from the best returner in the CFL. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by CFL All-Star Voting. On now. Go to futureshop.ca/all-star and vote for your favorite player today. The All-Star quarterback last year on the sideline still for the Argonauts, Cody Pickett. Likely will go the distance. Dominic Dorsey trying to go the distance, and he brings it down near the 10-yard line. The #1 option with a big gain.
Cementing his status as #1 on Don Matthews' priority list. Dominic Dorsey. You see that explosive speed. Watch Dwayne Carpenter, number 29, off the edge, though. Carpenter comes upfield a little bit too far. That creates a gap through which Dominic Dorsey cuts back.
That's what he's done on the ground. His all-purpose numbers must be huge as well. Jamal Robertson on the draw. And only a few yards, close to the 5-yard line. So the Argonauts, field goals aren't going to do anything here. They need to get it to the house.
Well, we saw the Toronto Argonauts in the fourth quarter last week shift into 3-down football when they were trying to get some points on the board. Wouldn't surprise me to see Don Matthews do the same thing here.
Problem with Dorsey again, you know, he has that big run and then can't run all the time like that. Has to go to the sideline. Robertson, and a fumble. And once again, All kinds of trouble for the Toronto Argonauts. And that one is really a kick in the old stomach for Toronto. The Stampeders recover it. And the Argos blow it. 31-4 is the score. Another turnover here on a botched handoff. Look at the turnovers by the Toronto Argonauts. At one time they were the envy of the Canadian Football League. Not long ago, a powerhouse. And right now that self-proclaimed Argonaut swagger has been reduced to a stagger. Kenyon Rambo, and again a team that right now is just trying to find an identity. The Argonauts at the beginning of the year, you know, they were going along and they're under head coach Rich Stubler and making some strides, it seemed, then took a couple of backward steps, releasing some veterans. This is a far cry, a shell of the team used to be. And we've seen them fall hard the last couple of weeks.
Well, we've seen a veritable plethora of miscues by the Argos. A missed interception that would have gone for 6. We've seen missed tackles. We've seen fumbles, drop balls, and of course interceptions. Everything that could go wrong for the Argonauts has gone wrong in this football game.
2 straight weeks.
Well, that's really been the case. And
now Burris down the sideline on the pump fake.
you know, I bit my tongue because I was about to say every big play that's happened in the last 2 weeks, the last 2 Toronto Argonaut games, has gone against the Argos. And you talk to most coaches and they'll tell you games are usually decided by a handful of plays. And this was almost yet another one against the Argos. A pump and go. Willie Middlebrooks bit on the out by Kenyon Rambo, but caught a break that Burris overthrew his receiver a little bit on that one.
9 minutes to go in this ball game. Burris decides to take off of it, head down. Again, I think the biggest danger for the Stampeders, make sure that they protect number 1.
Yeah, and I think depending how much time goes, the Argonauts are able to run off this clock on their next possession, Henry Burris could be done for the day here. One thing you have to remember about the Calgary Stampeders quarterback situation, Dave Dickinson is gone for the year. He's the only other Calgary quarterback who's taken a snap this year. So Ben Sankey was with the team in training camp. He didn't come back until Dickinson went down. Sankey could use some reps. Barrick Neely, their number 3 quarterback, hasn't taken any snaps this year. Neely could use some reps. And so that's another thing for John Huffnagel to keep in mind down the stretch of this ballgame.
Arland Bruce is back this time for the return. There's a penalty flag. Bruce high-stepping now to the 45-yard line, and another penalty. Burke Dales brought him down. I think a couple of penalties probably offsetting here. We'll get Jake Ireland to sort it out in a moment. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
We have 2 fouls. We have an illegal block, Toronto number 11. We have tripping, Calgary number 16. Those are both 10-yard penalties. They will balance. First down.
The kicker, the punter, Burke Dales. Little slide tackle called for the trip at the end of that play. But the illegal block against the Argos, the biggie here, as they lose a mile of field position.
Son of a rodeo Hall of Famer. Cody Pickett ducks one. In trouble, lets it fly. I'm not sure what's tougher, getting bucked off a horse and being in the rodeo, or having to deal with that Calgary Stampeder defense today.
Yeah, I think Cody Pickett's getting a little taste of what he gave to those steers as a rodeo cowboy. In this Calgary defense today, he's been corralled a few times.
Inside 8 minutes now. Don't forget, we'll send you to Saskatchewan, to Regina after this. Lions, Rough Riders. Of course, a tribute to the late, great Ron Lancaster there at Mosaic Stadium tonight. Reggie McNeil in and out of his hands as he had to go high.
A 2 and out. The body language on the sidelines kind of says it all to me. Not a whole lot of guys sitting down on the Calgary sidelines. Everybody's up on their feet, talking, chattering. Toronto Argonaut guys get back to the sidelines and everybody heads straight for the bench to have a seat.
Wobbler. No yards territory here. There's the flag. Michael Jennings going backwards. But there will be a no yards call. In fact, a few flags on the field. 31-4. Stamps riding. 7:23 to go. Here's our game story brought to you by Coors Light. Who wants a cold one?
Well, Cody Pickett in his first CFL start, getting decent reviews from his boss Don Matthews and from Kerry Joseph, just not getting a lot of help, and held to 191 passing yards. That interception was a backbreaker return for a touchdown. And the Boatmen outscored badly in their last 3 games, just getting bombed. For Calgary, much more positive. Henry Burris adding to his touchdown pass tally, 10 in his last 3 games with no interceptions. And how about Wes Lysak? 4 picks in his last 5 games. The biggie today, the backbreaker, 56-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Henry Burris running his touchdown total on the season. 25 now. Great ratio. Touchdowns to interceptions. Still in the ball game. This might be one of the last possessions we see Henry Burris today. 7 minutes coming up in the 4th quarter left. Arland Bruce. And I would suggest that all of the Argos probably have that kind of look right now and that kind of feel. Very frustrated for the Argonauts.
Arland Bruce is a competitive guy. Pours his heart and soul into what he does out there on the field. You know this is driving him nuts. What's going on with the Argos?
Another reception here for Nick Lewis. Go back to Labor Day. The Argos got a big win in Hamilton, but you know they just hung on for the win. And since that time, really embarrassing losses back to back. So things have turned sour very quickly for the guys who wear the double blue.
Yeah, 3 straight games that you can qualify as blowouts, quite frankly.
Started in Montreal.
Just gets tougher for Don Matthews. He took over a team that had a 4-point lead for second place in the East.
Now they've got company, and John Cornish again getting a chance to get a few more touches here. 5:45 to go.
See another missed tackle here in space. Watch Kevin Iben, number 35. John Cornish gives him a juke to the outside. Iben was just unable to get his feet turned around.
Looked like a face mask there from Adriano Belli that was not picked up.
And you wonder if Kevin Iben is still fighting the effects of a knee injury he suffered a little bit earlier in the season. This is a guy who is arguably the best tackler in the league.
Joffrey Reynolds breaks free and almost broke it for the touchdown.
When you see at this stage of the game some of those long runs starting to happen, it's a sign of fatigue for the guys in the Toronto Argonauts front seven. They've been worn out here by the Calgary Stampeders. Good block there from number 62, Jesse Newman. Kick out that created that gap through which Reynolds ran.
Rookie free safety Will Poole making the touchdown-saving tackle. His first game at that position. And Kenny Wheaton play action. Burris. Far side, Lewis.
Big play there by Kenny Heatley to make the play on Nick Lewis in the open field. He got the completion, but this could have been even bigger. Keep an eye on number 11, or as we like to call him, 7-11, because he's always open, Brett Ralph. He got free on this one on that seam route. And Henry Burris looks downfield at the end of the play, recognizes he let one get away.
Second on 4 yards. Cornish lunges forward, and this looks like it's a first down.
We talked about the Toronto Argonauts and their history of first-round picks over the last few years. And they've had some bad luck, certainly losing guys, Dan Federkyle in particular, to the NFL. Had some other picks that didn't pan out and so on. But by contrast, you've got this Calgary team. A guy like Teo Johnson, who was undrafted, who they put on their negotiation list, who they've added. John Cornish, who was a first-round pick for them. Brett Ralph, a 6th-round pick. They've got the 2 first-round picks, Newman and Zumpus, on that offensive line. They may soon add another element. Jabari Arthur, their first-round pick in 2007, whom they're hoping to get under contract in the near future. They've got young Canadians on the way, and it's allowed the Calgary Stampeders to sort of step up and replace some of their veteran players. It's a team that replaced their guards, starting guards, Bobby Singh and Jay McNeil, here this season, because they drafted well. They had the high picks to be able to do that.
Second down, 17 now. Last 3 minutes of the ball game. And Yon Rambo with another catch. 3-minute warning on the field, and the Stamps that far away from going to 8-4. Tomorrow, after the Eskimo Alouette game, TSN2 brings you exclusive coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Camping World RV 400. From Dover International Speedway, live coverage again after the CFL game tomorrow on TSN2. Well, there he is, Ben Sankey. Stampeders get the ball back. He'll be at the helm. Another win for the Calgary Stampeders. Not quite in the books yet. Sandro DeAngelis, automatic. And again, you know, look at the score, 34-4. And all the field goals that DeAngelis rolled up close in. The Stampeders could have put a 50 up on the Argonauts today.
Well, you mentioned those field goals, and you think about the interception that Pete Hunter, where he stole the ball from Jermaine Copeland in the end zone.
Well, let's go back to our TSN turning point.
Well, we talked about the Hunter interception that did happen. It was one by Kenny Heatley that didn't happen, that shifted the momentum in this game. He didn't pick that one off. He would have scored. That drive stayed alive and culminated in a touchdown pass to Mike Labidjo.
TSN Turning Point brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra Professional Grade. Cody Pickett goes down. So back to the drawing board for Cody Pickett. And I know what you're saying about this now kind of being his team. You've got an all-star and a most outstanding player on the sideline over there. Your third-string quarterback is a receiver, Reggie McNeil. Do the Argos have to shift their tact for next week? Will we see Kerry Joseph starting against the Calgary Stampeders in Toronto?
I doubt it.
McNeil. Knocked away again. Calgary Stampeder defense has done a great job today, and as much as the Argos have been very ineffective for the third straight week, Stamps brought their A game today. And this man has to lick his lips a little bit and smile after this one when he gets a chance to knock off his mentor on the other side of the sidelines.
Yeah, Chris Jones, who once again worked with Don Matthews with the Montreal Alouettes, has crafted a terrific game plan. He's got this Calgary defense, as you said, Rod, firing on all cylinders right now.
2 minutes to go. 33,000 watch this one at McMahon Stadium today. Here's Jennings. And Ben Sankey will come in, and he will quarterback now. So again, with the win, we give the Stampeders the victory. Now 8 wins, and you know what the Stampeders are doing, putting their pom-poms on. And we'll watch that game tonight and hope that the BC Lions knock off the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And should Edmonton beat Montreal tomorrow, could you imagine that? 3 teams at 8-4.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it could be, things could get very tight. Nonetheless, if BC is able to beat Saskatchewan and move themselves to 7-5, and then if Edmonton loses, you've got 2 at 8-4 and 2 at 7-5. The West just gets tighter and tighter every week.
Keep in mind, though, the Roughriders have been nearly unbeatable this year, and again, we'll send you there shortly. Tribute to Ron Lancaster, of course, who really was the face, the icon of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for so many years, who passed away on Thursday. Henry Burris, 21 of 34, rolling up some big numbers again, protecting the football. Couple more touchdowns, and here's Ben Sankey.
And how fortunate are the Calgary Stampeders to have a guy like Ben Sankey, who they can pick up in mid-season. He has 20 years of experience already in their offense.
Wide open field for Joffrey Reynolds to pile up some more yardage.
Well, the Toronto Argonauts got caught trying to blitz here. Kevin Iben, number 35, is at the left side of this defensive formation. He comes upfield. Nice block down by number 62, the left tackle, Jesse Newman. Combination of those 2 factors gives Joffrey Reynolds a hole he could have driven his car through, let alone run through.
3-point lead. Reynolds again. Joffrey Reynolds to the goal line. What a run. And the Argo defense at this point just wanting that clock to run down. An exhausted group, and Reynolds adds even more insult.
Well, as the saying goes, when you get to the end of a football game, you can usually tell who's won and who's lost, because one team wants the game to end, the other wants to keep playing, and that play said it all. How about the numbers on Joffrey Reynolds today, though?
112 yards, 30 yards, longest carry. 69 yards alone on this drive. That isn't this a classy move? Crowd doesn't like it, though. Ben Sankey taking the knee.
Nice show of sportsmanship here from Calgary head coach John Huffnagel.
But you don't see that often anymore. Sometimes they say, you know, especially points and how important points are. And
yeah, that becomes less relevant, though, when you're not playing within your own division.
But at the same time, some coaches would say, hey, you want to beat me, punch it in. But they're going to take the knee. The crowd doesn't like it. Show of sportsmanship, a show of respect.
Yeah, there's something to be said for winning with class.
That's indeed what this was all about. But the Toronto Argonauts, 3 straight games now, 3 humiliating losses. Montreal, Winnipeg, and now in Calgary. It's going to be an awfully quiet, long flight back tonight on the red eye. The Argos must regroup again. They fall to 4-8, and the Calgary Stampeders now 8-4. And still climbing in the CFL West, and the Dawn still has yet to win. Let's go back to the studio and join Dave Randorf.